What's going on, everyone? Appreciate y'all coming here and checking out this Fallout 76 video. Some of you might have seen my video that I made in the past over what original players will remember, and I'm actually going to be turning this into a series and making a couple videos over what only original players will remember, because I feel like it's good for the community to look back on, to see how far we have came, also to catch up new players that are just entering the game, to see how much we have improved since the beginning. There are tons of differences, like literally thousands of improvements and changes since this game first released. Sheesh, I'm not going to be able to cover every single one, but I'm going to keep this series rolling basically until Fallout 76 Wastelanders releases. So yeah, on that note, if you actually missed the previous episode where this series first began at, I'll have a link in the description to that video for y'all to check out. As you can see, it did pretty well. It almost hit 2,000 likes. I highly appreciate your all's support. Let's see if we can manage to surpass 2,000 likes on this one. That'd be awesome to see, and very motivating to keep this series rolling. So, where do I even begin? Where do I even begin with this episode? I guess, you know what? Let's go back to 2018, specifically on December 6th of 2018. That's when this was actually patched out of the game. As you can see here, this inside the vault was added way back in 2018. And the fix I'm going to be specifically going over is under the general category. The top selection here states, added December 6th, caps. Address an exploit that could allow players to gain caps at a faster rate than intended. And in case some of you may not know what this is specifically talking about, this is talking about the old cap stash run that we were able to do at White Springs. This is actually how a lot of players got their caps back in the day. All we would need to have was the cap collector perk card, and then we would just collect all the cap stashes around White Springs. We had a very efficient run down, and then we would just continue to rinse and repeat the cycle of collecting the cap stashes. They didn't have like a set time where the caps would be back in the stash. We could just simply hop servers and then go right back to farming all of these. So a lot of us used a specific route to efficiently farm all of these cap stashes around White Springs. Like, getting caps was just so easy back in the day due to this. Alright, so next up here, I'm going to go ahead and crack open a cold one before I get into it. This is brisk tea, by the way. I know, I'm lame. But this next one is a doozy. I'm going to be going over one of the very first duplication glitches that was ever introduced into the game. Not going to lie, this affected the economy majorly, but Bethesda went on a huge ban wave and banned tons of players who just had way too much in their inventory. I'm talking about like 1 million carry weight here. Like, a lot of players just duplicated thousands of really good legendaries, not to mention Nuka-Cola Quantums as well, so they would have an infinite amount of caps. Yeah. The cap stash run was good and all. It was kind of like a little exploit, but not as bad as duplicating thousands upon thousands of Nuka-Colas. And there's a black market out there where players would sell all these duplicated items, and they made loads of money, and are still currently making money from the duplicated items. I guarantee you a lot of players just transferred whatever they duplicated onto another account just in case they got banned. But anyways, back in December once again of 2018 was when it officially got patched out of the game. Keep in mind, Bethesda didn't start the ban wave quite yet though. They did a little further into the future, however. But yeah, as you can see, it was addressed in the inside of the vault here under general. It states exploit. Address an exploit that could allow items to be duplicated. And how the duplication glitch worked back in the day, as you can see here for an example, all you would need to do is go up to an artillery station that you didn't own. It would have to be some other player that would place it down, and then you would store that said item into the artillery station that you're trying to duplicate, and that player who owned the artillery station would back out. And then once that player comes back and the artillery station reappears, that item that you picked up when it first disappeared will still be inside the artillery station, if that makes sense. So you would have the items in your inventory, but not only that, it would still be in your artillery station where you could just pick it up once again, just rinse and repeat that cycle over and over. And people literally stocked up on, once again, thousands upon thousands of really good legendaries. And I'm pretty positive they sold them on the black market and made some big bangos. But yeah, that was the first time really ever a duplication glitch was introduced into Fallout 76 publicly anyways. A lot of duplication glitches go under the radar to keep them from being patched. And as far as I know, keep in mind there's a lot of players that keep exploit secrets from me because there's a potential chance that I could get it patched out of the game by letting you all know about it. But yeah, as far as I know, there is no duplication glitches in the game at the moment, which is nice to know because they really affect the economy, and not to mention in general the game. It just feels more stale that everyone has all the weapons because nothing really feels valuable, if you get what I'm saying. Anyways, next up here, a lot of you might not remember this one because this was back in the beta. I believe they actually took this out after the beta. But there used to be fast travel welcome mats that we could place down at our camp for players to teleport on. So how this worked was whenever a new player would fast travel to our camps, they would spawn specifically on the fast travel mat that we place somewhere around in our camp, which I thought this was really awesome. I'm not exactly positive on why they decided to remove this because it was extremely beneficial. There was a few Reddit posts made actually mentioning to Bethesda that they should somehow return these to the game, and I completely agree. If Bethesda could find a way to actually get these implemented back, that'd be nice, especially for these spaceship camps that I've been starting to make, such as, for instance, the Prydwen. I know it doesn't look exactly like the Prydwen, but it was highly inspired from that Brotherhood of Steel airship. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at here is if I had a choice to place an actual fast travel mat down on this airship, I would, because players that don't have the marsupial mutation have a hard time getting up in here, because I made sure the camp was floating completely to give off that flying feel that we're actually in some kind of airship. Which, by the way, I made a Brotherhood of Steel cinematic over this Prydwen remake, and I gave a full video tour of it as well. If you're interested in checking out this build, I'll leave a link in the description to that video. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. My squad and I took a very long time putting all this together. But anyways, to keep this simple and straightforward, the next one that I wanted to go over happened in the beginning of 2019 on January 10th. As you can see here in the balance category of the changes, they made it so bobby pins weights were reduced from 0.1 to 0.001. So they basically were nerfed to weighing nothing, thankfully. I know it may seem like the bobby pins weigh absolutely nothing now, but they do. They weigh 0.001. And as you can see, the game doesn't even register something that light. It just says 0.00. But they weigh something, it's just not noticeable. And how this nerf even came into existence, a Fallout 76 player sent Todd Howard a box of bobby pins and asked him to weigh them. Yeah, that's how the weight of these bobby pins were nerfed. Oh, that is so great. That's awesome. I love this community. But just don't take my word over this. Here's Todd Howard himself talking about the package he received at PAX East of 2019.
Apparently I hang out there a lot.
Well, there you go. Come up to us. It's fine. It's fine.
Some people send letters.
Yeah,
Some
we
of
do
those
get
are very,
letters
Some
from
of those are
time
very
to time.
creative. I got a box of bobby pins the other week that said weigh these. So whoever sent that was the most creative letter I got.
Oh, that's golden. Okay, so anyways, thank goodness they introduced this patch back in the beginning of 2019, around the end of January. They introduced some pretty important updates, such as, for instance, back in the day, we were not able to tell which plans we knew and which plans we didn't. Oh, it was a hassle trying to figure out which ones because there's just, as you know, so many freaking plans that we can learn in this game. I'm still collecting them. I gotta collect actually the rest of the T60 power armor plans, and it can be a big nipple twister to collect them all. There's just tons and tons of plans, not to mention limited time plans as well in this game. And yeah, back in the day, we were not able to see which ones we knew and which ones we didn't. They actually updated it where next to the plan, if we did know it, it states now known. That hasn't always been a thing for those of you that wasn't around at that time. Yeah, it's amazing that Bethesda did introduce this because this was just a struggle for a lot of players. Okay, so I'm getting kind of close to wrapping up this episode. This next one that I want to cover is a glitch that players used to utilize to keep the Monster Mash mask that you can get from the Monster Mash event. Now, you don't technically get rewarded this whatsoever in the game. It would be pretty cool if this was like a reward that you could get from the event, but no, that's not the case. Players were having to use a glitch in order to obtain this mask. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly how this glitch worked. I don't know how players were able to keep this Monster Mash mask. I was seeing some players say that you had to drop the mask before the event ended, and then people were saying that that was wrong, it didn't work. And then I was seeing players say that you had to leave the Monster Mash event with the Monster Mash mask on. Jeez, that's a tongue twister. But players were saying that didn't work as well. So I'm not exactly sure how people were technically keeping this mask, because the speculations that players were saying were wrong. It might have been just by chance that players were keeping this. But either way, Bethesda eventually got this patched out of the game. I'm not exactly sure how they did it, but the people that did manage to get this to work and have it in their inventory got to keep it. Keep in mind though, you can't stash this in your stash. It is an event item, so you have to keep it out in your inventory. You don't have to technically wear it all the time, but it can't go in their stash. Yeah, I guess that's our wrapping up this episode, everyone. I think I covered quite a bit in this one. If you have a throwback that you want me to cover in the next episode, feel free to jot it down in the comments. That'd be greatly appreciated to keep this series rolling. And speaking of, if you did find this enjoyable, consider taking a little bit of your time and leaving a like on the video. And hey, maybe if you're new around here, consider giving my channel a chance and sticking around and subscribing. As always though, all of that is totally up to you all. I'm out of here though, everyone. Thanks for taking the time, watching and listening. Until next time, peace.